Well, let's do this Marjorie Taylor Greene clip. I had fun
Ooh,
with this
this the Matt Gaetz one?
Yes. Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she hasn't shut the hell up about it for around 4 weeks now. She was the same person making fun of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for being fearful of sexual assault or violence against her during the insurrection attempt. And so here she is.
She's also a free speech advocate who constantly says people should be, edgy comedians should be able to make jokes. And here she is. I believe she contacted the Capitol Police about this Jimmy Kimmel joke.
Oh, my God.
Yes, she did. She's very afraid. She's very afraid of Jimmy Kimmel. And so afraid that she is just very grateful that a strong man like Matt Gaetz will stick up for her, because she can't handle herself in these kinds of situations because she's a woman, and that's the way of the world.
And they go and do it.
Yeah, and Jimmy knows it happens, and
Totally.
and so Matt, I'm really grateful for you as in your character and as a man that would stand up and defend me as a woman, because we need to recognize that women are the weaker sex, and men are stronger than us, and we're seeing it in our women's sports. We're watching men dominate in women's sports like Leah Thomas in swimming. But here's something Jimmy Kimmel should understand is I did report it to the Capitol Police, because I'm taking that call of violence and that threat against my safety very seriously, and also for my family, because what we can expect, Matt, is for the left to react to what he's calling for. Totally. And they want it to happen.
So Marjorie, the reason that you're not as strong as you want to be is because you do CrossFit. That's why you're not seeing the gains that you think you should be seeing.
She's a squat heavy. She's a squat heavy, deadlift heavy.
I feel like people are sort of missing what her point was here. Like, I think they're using this attempt to knock her for, typical like misogyny on the right, where, women are not as strong as men or can't do whatever men can do, and women's place are in the kitchen and you shouldn't take the roles that big, strong men take. I mean, that's a usual right-wing talking point, sure, but I actually think what she's doing here is way more nefarious. She's like being facetious here because she wants to segue into the idea that the talking point that Leah Thomas is not a woman, but a man. And that's why Leah Thomas is dominating in women's sports. Like she's using this to attack trans people.
Also, I want to say,
I just want to say real quick, we should just say the joke that Jimmy Kimmel said, which is that Marjorie Taylor Greene was accusing congresspeople of being pedophiles if they supported Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Jimmy Kimmel said, "Where's Will Smith when you need him?" Now, as a free speech activist, I think if we are not allowed to make that joke about somebody who is accusing other people of being pedophiles, if we can't make jokes about that person getting slapped and everybody laughing about it, then I don't think free speech is worth a damn, because I think, first of all, a congressperson accusing people of being pedophiles or groomers or something like that is going to lead to way more of a worse outcome than somebody getting slapped, just generically. And so I think, like, if we're going to have this free speech where Marjorie Taylor Greene can accuse whoever of being a pedophile because they support a Supreme Court pick, then we can have people on cable television joking about them being violently assaulted.
I will say, I think it's quite something that she goes on to Matt Gaetz's podcast, I guess that is, to, defend, I guess, her right to call people pedophiles, with no evidence.
Right.
I can't think of a more appropriate platform for that. I will say, though, to all the points that were made previously, just to add on to them, it's also shameless pandering to the ego of like the Republican male, because there's just like 0% chance that like Matt Gaetz could take her in an arm wrestling contest. They should have arm wrestled right there. And I just do not believe he could beat her.
Well,
because,
I mean,
she might do CrossFit, but there's no way he works out at all.
Yeah. Right. At least she's doing something, even though CrossFit is, damaging your joints and probably not a more efficient way to work out. We did once play that video of her swinging like she was on the jungle gym.
Her form is so bad
when she was doing what I appear to be an attempt at pull-ups, but I digress. Like, that's what grosses me out so much about this. It's like, I know this is kind of a silly term, but it's the pick me girl, right? It's the I'm going to debase myself and present myself as weak and lesser than in order to make you, the strong male, feel comfortable. It is like so degrading to watch, but like that is the brainwashing of some conservative women in this way is I have to give up my agency and my self-respect in order to make a man feel comfortable so a man can lead. And that's how I need to live my life. It's a little bit sad, but she's so vile that I don't feel sad for her whatsoever.
She's the trad wife meme. I mean, literal like she's a rad trad. I mean, but it takes that even further than I think the meme does.
Definitely, and it's a great grift on her part too, because like the sexual inadequacies of like, or rather their own perception of their sexual inadequacies is like a big driving force behind like conservative pathology, especially modern conservative pathology online. You know, all they're concerned about is like being cucked and like interracial dating and, you know, incel culture and all the things that sort of revolve around their perception that the liberations of women's sexuality, the integration of races has led to some kind of like unfair competition for like the affections of women. And so having these kinds of like, women in their party who are willing to give credence to like, oh yeah, we should definitely go back to the world of like single race dating and like women being the property of their husbands because they're, just like biologically inherently inferior and weaker. It's just, they're just, I hate to say it, like they're just insecure enough to like find that and compelling enough of a reason to, pick her essentially.
Well,
even though she's super weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's the insecurity of like a white male who feels that, and whose entire life they've been pandered to in culture and in society, and now things are slightly changing. So you have a bit of that backlash of the conservative woman seeing that as an opportunity to appeal to that demographic by being like overly obsequious and deferential. And so that's like that's some of the slide that we're seeing here. It's the same population that Steve Bannon saw an opportunity in when Donald Trump was running. He had previously worked in gaming and had seen what was the Gamergate scandal, right? Saw that as like a way to exploit.
So young white men were getting angry that their video games were, women were having influence on video games. Right. And their video games were no longer featuring the big boobed anime women, but actually real looking women, and they couldn't handle that.
They turned down the jiggle physics and Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball 7 in the American version, and people got really upset about that because that meant either you got to see breast jiggling at a slightly reduced ratio, or you had to like play the game in the original Japanese on like a modified console. And from my perspective, if you're playing on an American console, you deserve what you get. But so you got to jailbreak that stuff. But some people thought it was like an unscalable barrier, I suppose.
That does sound really heartbreaking.
Never stand between me and jiggle physics.
The jiggle rate is just the decline of the jiggle rate. It just means that Western society is no longer tenable because all of the men are becoming
my jiggle.
No, not a high enough jiggle rate per minute is contributing to the feminization of men.
If you assign any less than 15 programmers to each breast and how it moves in in the game, you've given I don't know too much leeway to the feminazis. Although I will say the interesting thing about like Gamergate, I suppose, as someone who was like tangentially just viewing it from the side, not involved in like political media at all, is that like many of the problems we deal with that the right are constantly griefing us about, they just love to pretend that it's about some sort of deeper integrity issue as part of like the collapse of like games journalism, which I don't necessarily agree with, but like you can extrapolate that out to be just general like lack of integrity in real like in any kind of reporting, industry, hobby, just general news, and using that just like larger, like obvious cultural grievance that is true, that people agree with, that they don't actually want to solve, to push, you know, a misogynist agenda to people who, like, you know, are just generally alienated.
You know, one thing that's interesting about the journalism aspect of it, in terms of, you know, they tried to portray it as a journalistic thing when obviously it was not that, was it actually is quite analogous to like what you see today with the Elon Musk's conservative fans, whereas like Elon Musk announced he wants to buy Twitter, and you should see online all these conservatives online are, yeah, Elon Musk, he's the best, he's the greatest, he's gonna save us, give us free speech. But in reality, what he's really doing is just hiding the fact that he's he's gonna pump and dump Twitter's stocks that he owns. On top of that, he had to SEC is investigating his erroneous filings that he did, where he already made $100 million+ off of filling out forms late and wrong, when he was supposed to file forms related to his Twitter stock that he did buy. They cheer on when these super powerful, wealthy people break laws and do things with zero integrity. But with Gamergate, in the same thing, big, AAA, whatever they're called, the gaming companies like the, EA Sports or whatever, they all the time like pay for coverage and things like that, and pay for reviews and stuff like that. And Gamergate was all about going after this one woman who was an indie developer. She made a text-based internet game that didn't cost any money, and they were angry that she was put on a list of like the 100 best games of the year because she had some sort of like friendly relationship with the what they said was because she had some sort of friendly relationship with the author of the article. That they don't get mad at someone like an Elon Musk who uses his power to do things that are lack integrity and moral standing, and have no disclosure. But they go after the little people though.
It's also interesting when bigots start getting principled. It's like, you think that's I don't know that's the story of that like top 100 list or whatever, right? But I will hazard a guess that is not the first time that friendly connections have led to somebody getting onto some video games list in the industry, and it's jealousy guarded because she's a woman.